So here is our next setup. This one is made almost entirely of bamboo. I kept the crossbar of apple just because it was there. All right. Now here what I have are the 2-inch wide slats of bamboo that are usually made for projects like Japanese bow making. And here I have them on the fulcrum. All right. Now the center one, now this is what I call the Trident version. Okay. This is the Trident version. And again, this isn't like set in stone. There'll be many variations of how to do these, and there's plenty of others. The centerpiece is on the bottom. Okay, and the centerpiece, the center runner, is the bottom one, and it's the strongest one. All right, and then I have the two here, and these are basically supports for side to side, so that the centerpiece doesn't go moving off side to side. It stays right in the middle and doesn't go anywhere. Okay, so if I move it side to side, it stays in one place. Now what I did to secure these was I drilled a hole through the crossbar. Okay, now you have to be careful if you're going to drill holes in your crossbar that you're not actually weakening the crossbar and it can break on you. But the apple is strong enough. So I drilled a hole and I put a nail through it, which comes out the bottom end and keeps the runners of this Trident in place. Okay, and as you can see, I just did a quick secure with the plastic ties here. Okay, and obviously any primitive technologist would be screaming blasphemy, but I don't care, it doesn't matter. I mean, I could just easily use cord, no big deal, right? Or I could do like Japanese carpentry and, you know, carve out wooden pegs and drill my hole with stone tools, you know, and I've done things like that in the past, but I'm not doing it today, okay? Because I'm always on a time schedule. So what I did here too was I lined up the 3 runners, and I drilled a hole through all 3 and put a nail through it, which, as you can see, comes out the bottom end here, and that keeps those lined up. Now for the brace, I added one more section of the slat of bamboo. Okay, I was afraid if I made a hole through just the centerpiece, that would really weaken it, and I was afraid it might actually burn through, as a matter of fact. So I wanted to be really careful and put one more piece in there, and you can see that's held in place too with the plastic. So I have also a bamboo tube here, which is secured with the ties. And I have a nail through that too, so that doesn't... Actually, the nail through this one here is so that the tube doesn't turn 360 degrees around. I don't want it turning on me. This hole here holds the weight. Now, the last version that you saw, the pressure Y brace, that one was a class 2 lever, right? So FRE 1, 2, 3. So the last one, the resistance was in the middle. The weights were in the middle. And the, it was a class 3 lever. So the effort is in the middle. And the resistance was on the end, and the fulcrum is on the end. So the last one was a class 3 lever. This one is going to be a class 2 lever. So the resistance, the spindle, which is made out of bamboo, okay, it's a bamboo tube, and the very top has a bamboo chopstick in it, secured by a hose clamp. And the bottom is really just 1 inch below a node, and it's completely hollow, as you can see. And we're going to try and do fire with that. Now the base is another section of that bamboo slat, that 2 inch wide across slat. As you can see, it's pinned in place with some nails on a table because we're not outside again. All right. Now, there's a difference between how I set up the fulcrum here than I did the last one. On the last one, the fulcrum was on top. If you remember, the Y was sitting on top of the brace. But here, the runners are below. And the reason for that is because the resistance is going to be, the effort is going to be here on this end, and the resistance is going to be in the middle, like this. So we put the spindle in place. Okay. The resistance is in the middle. So if there's effort going down, and the resistance is there, well, the fulcrum, if you could see me pushing on this, I'd rather have the runners of the slats below the crossbar rather than above. If you could see what I mean. I think that would works out better with this class 2 lever. Okay. Now how the weight goes. By the way, the last weight was 8.8 pounds or 4 kilos times 2 on the last one, on the Y brace, which was the class 3 lever. This one we're just going to use 4.4 pounds or 2 kilos. This one is going to be a little lighter. And one of the reasons is because our setup is entirely bamboo. So here we have bamboo on bamboo. There's no reload. The spindle in itself is actually going to be burning into the base. All right. Now before I hook up the weight, here we have our safety, which we're going to put on. So I'm going to put the camera down, get everything set up. Okay. Here's our safety. Alright. Actually, I'm going to put it. Let's put our spindle back. Now I haven't greased the brace end yet. Let's put the effort on here. Now I locked that in with a nail. Okay. Now the reason for that being, if the spindle goes, okay, if the spindle goes, the safety catches it, but the weight doesn't slide off. It's held in place with the nail. See, that's a nail there. So it just catches like that. So one of the most important things you could do too, which I never really mentioned, is to pre-mate something. So before you actually mate this together, okay, you have to carve everything so that all the pieces really do fit together. Okay, so when the bottom base here of the base end of the spindle meets the base of the board, that should be carved so well that it fits together very well. Same with the brace end of the spindle and the actual brace. They should actually fit together even before you burn them together and you really mate them together. Okay, so let's give this a go. And again, normally you would be adjusting for the angle There's going to be drift. Oh, see? And our safety saved us. Okay, because you never know. So something like that is always good to see. I think we'll burn that in a little bit more. But this time I'm going to grease our brace. Hear how it's not really even. You know what that is? That's the shape of the bamboo. Alright. So what I'm going to be doing now is putting in the notch. So I'm going to take this out. It's kind of mated together. Okay. And I'm going to put the notch in and see how it goes. Alright, here we go. Alright, so I put a notch in to our base. Okay. Down back in there. Going to wind up our toggle drill cord. Okay. And I already greased the brace end again. So I'm going to throw a little bit of sawdust in there. Just fill it just halfway a little bit, just to get things started. Alright, here we go. So this set is pretty much almost entirely bamboo, except for the obvious modern things attached to it. Some speed, a lot of rotation. Let's see what we got. So we definitely got a coal. Again, I forgot to put down my cold catcher. The safety is really nice, right? Keeps things intact. I'll lift up the base. Base has the coal in it. I'll try not to drop it. There we go. There's our bamboo Trident toggle drill. Okay. And all right, let's keep going. So you're really gonna like this next one I'm gonna do. So we're doing the toggle drill. We're making our way through the 5 drills, where we go from more pieces, less effort, Okay, and a toggle drill, that's pretty much the top of the line. And so here is the next version that I'm going to do, and I call it the box version of the toggle drill. Okay, now let me explain this first. Now, if you recall, during the pump drill, I showed you the reloading base, right? Here's my prototype. Here's one of the ones that we made where the, well, this one is the pine stud, which was done by a router. And it holds our reloading bases in there, right? If you remember that. And if you also recall, I have from each direction 4 different directions where the coal could go, depending on where you put your notch, just for fun, right? And then we have the one we made out of the oak flooring, which you could use outside. You can pin it to the ground here and here. And we made sections of walnut and screwed them in to the oak flooring. And the reloads fit in there like that. And again, it has 4 different ways. And in a way, they kind of represent the 4 directions for me, the 4 teaching directions. All right. So taking this idea of the reloading base and making it in a permanent situation, here I've taken a full 2x8. Now when I mean 2x8, when you go to the lumber store, it actually measures 1.5 inches by 7 inches. Okay, so it's not exactly 2x8. So for the bottom piece, this is one solid piece. And as you can see in the middle here, I created a reloading base, which is gouged out. Has 4 different directions, just for fun. Although I only use the sides. Okay, I only use like east and west. And the supports here, now as you can see, the base is much larger than where the walls are. And just before I go into the walls, the reason for this is that I can take my, my daughter was working on a project here. I could take the clamps, clamp it to the table. So, okay, so that's not going anywhere. Okay, that's secure. All right, that's why it has these wings. All right, so I'm going to take that off for a second. Now the back, here in this version goes all the way down past the base. It's in the back of the base. It's screwed in, as you can see. Goes all the way up, and there's 2 walls. And the walls are screwed in as well, okay, from the bottom. Alright, and the back is supposed to be even with the walls, but it wasn't perfect. This is actually one of my prototypes from earlier. Now, I created a top. And with this top, I screwed it in to the walls, the 3 walls, the back and the 2, and I cut a hole in there because I got a 4-inch hinge that I got at the hardware store. Put that on, screwed that in with another lid. Now, as you can see, in a way this kind of works like a garlic press or one of those Play-Doh things that you could push through, right? When you push your Play-Doh through. Remember doing that as a kid through one of those contraptions. And here I screwed in a brace with a copper cap that I cut some wings on and bent them back with a pair of pliers. And then I drilled a hole in this spare piece for the brace. Drilled a hole, I think it was 1 1/4 inch, because this is a 1-inch cap of copper. And just kind of put some nails all the way around, except for this one part where it came out, because I didn't make the brace, I think, big enough. But as you can see, it presses through and has space. Okay, now here's my safety. Here's really the point of this. The walls are the safety. So I can take this thing anywhere for demonstrations. I don't need trees. I don't need pillars. I don't need a cross brace. So, and here's our lever. It is a class 2 lever, FRE 123. So the resistance is in the middle. And here on top of this, here on the left side of the resistance, and the fulcrum is on the right, here I put the weights. So I take the weights. Here we have the 8.8 pounds or 4 kilos. And that fits on there. As you can see, I could put a lot of weight on there, but I don't really need to. I only need enough. And then we have our reloading spindle. This is one I did on my lathe, made out of walnut. Okay, now this spindle happens to be, it's a 1/2 inch reload socket, which I wrote on here, 1/2 inch socket, and it is 14 inches tall, is what I have written on here, though it's hard to see. Okay, now the reload, as you can see, is one of those dowel pins, 1/2 inch dowel pins. It just fits in there with, as you can see, it's quartered, sawn quartered with a hose clamp. And what that does is, let me take the weight off. Get a grip on it. There we go. So the spindle goes in here like this, fits into the copper cap of the brace, and sits on the reloading base. Okay, now I don't even really need something to grease that with. I mean, it's not going to go anywhere with the copper cap, and it won't burn. Alright. So the toggle we're going to use is the same old toggle for now. I'm going to show you some other different kinds in a little bit. So we're going to mate this, and we're going to get a skull. Alright. I'll be right back. Alright, so we're basically set up. Here's what I like to do. I like to take my coal catching card, and I take a little strip off that, okay? And what I'll do is I'll put this inside one of the directions that I've made, okay? Now I've used a Forstner bit to start the hole. That's a 1/2 inch, and inside is a little bit of a 3/8 of an inch. So put that in there. And that sits a little bit on the coal catching card piece there. So we have our toggles around the spindle. That sits like that. So we get our weight. It goes on top of our Class 2 lever. Alright. And we're going to mate this thing together. So we take our toggles. Okay. I'm going to kneel down for this. I might need some more weight. I need more weight. So I'm going to add another 4 kilo weight on top. You could just tell I need more weight. Yep, that feels better. So I'm doing this a little bit to the side so you can see. And it's starting to smoke. Alright, so that's mated. I didn't even need to grease the top. So I'm going to stop, put my notch in, and we're going to light it up. Okay, be right back. Alright, so we put a notch in our reload. And it's going to sit on our coal catcher. I flattened my reload on my spindle. Okay, because it was starting to sphere off. And so we're going to put this back inside our reload. Now I'm going to add, just for laughs, another little weight, another 2 kilos. Alright, we're going to light this up. Kneel down here. So the weights are doing all the work, and this is what we mean by more pieces, less effort. The only thing I have to do is speed and the back and forth reciprocation. You can actually see the reload shrinking down. And I think we got our hole. So we carefully lift off everything. Nothing is stuck. Yep, we definitely got it. Take these weights off for safety. I'm going to give it some air first, let it grow. Alright, so I'm going to pull it out. Take a nail and carefully knock out the hole. And you have to be careful because your coal catcher is very small. It's basically just a piece of card. Kind of kicked it back. Kicked it back and it fell apart. Alright. So there's our coal. And this is a box version of the toggle drill, which you can take anywhere, do demos with, teach Boy Scouts with, Girl Scouts, nature groups, primitive technology. I mean, every set that you've seen could be done primitively. I mean, every set you can make with stone tools and figure out a way to do everything primitively. Alright, so let's do another version of the box and make this one round and easy to do as a project with a kid. Okay? Alright, next one. Alright, so we're ready to test our Class 1 variation of a hanging toggle drill. And here's how this works. This is actually a pressure lever base, not a pressure lever base, B-R-A-C-E. This is a pressure lever base, B-A-S-E. And so what we do here is I epoxied and corded this oak dowel here to the bottom of the lever base. And here I have a reload, pine reload. The whole thing is made out of pine. It's made out of 2x3 stud, which, as you know, is not actually 2x3. It's a little smaller than that. So this top part here, under here, is clamped in to the table. It's underneath the table and clamped. Okay, well, it's kind of hard to see. Alright, so that's clamped under there. And the 4 screws keep the these 2 pillars from moving. Okay, now the lever, this is a 6-inch bolt through the lever and the pillars. And I put these 2 blocks on each side to kind of keep the reload, the base reload in. Alright, now I'm going to put the weights in on the back, and it's going to be held in place by a nail like you saw on the other toggle drills. The weights are held in place on the dowel with a nail. There's a hole in the dowel to receive the nail. And here's the spindle. I cut another 1/2 inch off the top because it seemed a little longer than, better to take off than to try to put back on, because you can't do that obviously, right? So here's how this is going to work. The I epoxied that 1/2 of a copper cap in there. It's a 1-inch cap. Okay, so that'll go up in there, and this will fit in the reloading pressure lever base. Alright, so I'm going to put the weights on, put the toggle cord around it, and we're going to give it a go. Okay, here we go. Alright, we're ready to give it a shot. Our spindle is corded. Now I have 2 weights on there. They're both the 8.8 pounds or 4 kilos each. So that's 8 kilos. Okay. And the pressure lever brace pushes up on the spindle. Oh. I busted my reload. Alright, let's give it another shot. Alright, so I'm burning in right now a new reload. I think I had too much weight on. Actually, I think I had double the necessary weight on. So now I just have 1 of the 8.8 weights on, just 4 kilos. Alright. And that seems to be doing really well. Alright, so I'm going to take this out, put a notch in, see how it goes. Alright, so I've put a notch in the reloading base. Okay, so but before I do that, I'm going to put a coal catcher down. And that's going to fit right in this slot, just like that. Okay. I flattened the reload on the spindle. And it's one of those pin dowels, dowel pins, fluted dowel pins. Now what's nice with this weight being here on the end, if I want less weight, I'll pull it closer. If I want more weight, the weight goes back and it applies actually more pressure to the spindle. Okay. So we lift this up, fit that in, and I'm going to push the weight all the way back. Actually, I'm going to push it forward and see how that does first. It's smoking already. Let me get you a little closer, actually. Let's see. Get you in on the action here. How's that? All right. An upside down class 1 lever. Let's just do some speed. Oh, have a complication. The hose clamp is hitting the sides, so I have to create a space for that. All right, here we go. All right, so here's what I did. I took this rasp bit on a drill and I just kind of gouged out around I made a space there. All right, so let's try this again. Got the coal catcher in there in front of the notch. And again, we're going to go for speed. I can see the dowel pin starting to get really short. All right, let's see if we got anything. Looks like we have a coal. Put that down gently. Yep, it's smoking, right? Look at that. So here's what I do. I take my knife and I kind of spear the reload, and I have the coal catcher too at the same time. I'm gonna pull that in. Oh, it's gone. All right, let's put another dowel pin in and try again. Actually, I'm just going to put the whole thing back. Just as it is. And replace the dowel pin. Just got too short. Okay. Okay, so I flattened the dowel pin, the new one. So I'm going to lift this up. Place it back inside, and again we're going to go for some speed. Hopefully I won't bust through this reload piece. You can see the dust really building. Let's see if we got anything. I think I just burned through the reload. So we're gonna have to do another reloading base. Okay, so I've mated and put a notch in a new reloading base piece. Okay, have the coal catcher in. And now I'm going to put the spindle in. Tighten up the cord. You have to be careful of these weights sliding back and forth. Could crush your fingers if you're not careful. Okay. Alright. Keep having to adjust for these complications, but that's all part of the fun. More weight. Let's push it back. Let's see if we have anything. Oh, we definitely got one now. That's smoking real good. See that? Okay. Get my knife. Cold catcher. All together. And there is our class 1 pressure lever base variation. Okay. And clamped to the bottom of a table, hanging with hanging weights to apply pressure. More pieces, less effort, and a whole lot of fun too. Alright. And there's plenty more to show you. So let's keep going.